Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Mainz B, one of the highest DPM cruisers tier for tier in the game. In fact, we have to go all the way up to tier 10 to even get comparable AP DPM characteristics on cruisers. Even then, we're still the 9th highest AP DPM out of all the cruisers tier 8 to tier 10. Absolutely wild to have that kind of firepower on a tier 8 cruiser. Now, it's not all insane. This ship certainly has a lot of weaknesses. Being a light cruiser, it's rather large also and does not have the best armor or maneuverability, so you gotta play it a little carefully. Tier 8 means we can also find ourselves fighting Columbos and Libertads. Yeah, that is rather difficult. With Black Friday coming up, it's time we start taking a look at all these B variant ships, as it's a great time to pick up some premiums at a discount. We typically see a 30% discount on tier 8 and below premiums. And last year that meant this ship was 7,850 doubloons. It may go up a little bit this year, I'm not sure. They've standardized some pricing across the board with that ship rotation idea they brought in recently. And so that could result in 7,910 doubloons this time, if we're taking 30% off the 11,300 doubloons that Mainz costs right now in the armory. Still a decent discount, and it seems like cruisers will generally cost a similar amount with this change. Destroyers went up in cost, battleships went down, is seemingly how it went with this ship rotation and standardized prices. For Mainz, though, we're also seeing them looking to introduce a tier 10 variant. I won't lie, I'm pretty interested in seeing how that goes. So I wanted to play some Mainz today, and I had a overall pretty good time. Even into these tier 10 up tiers, I still was able to get some great battle impact. Assuming you're able to position around islands and not take the full brunt of these enemy battleships, you can do some incredible things with this ship. It does not have the best firing angles. Notice how broadside I have to be to actually fire all of my main guns. Combined with our relative lack of acceleration and maneuverability, means if you get caught out, you're going to take massive damage. We only have a 27mm deck armor, as well as 25mm upper bow and belt armor. Yeah, we're getting overmatched pretty much everywhere. We get a little bit of turtleback, which is nice, but that's not going to help us if we're caught broadside. Sap coming in from Colombo, Libertad also on our flank, and suddenly we lose basically all of our HP. No heal here means Mainz can be a very tricky ship to play. You get greedy, considering all the DPM you have and seeing the damage numbers rack up so quickly. It's very easy to get into the thought process of, I can just DPM down everything, and then you get reminded you're playing a cruiser into an up tier. But it is still a very good ship, and I think one of the more fun cruisers, especially at tier 8. I think you're going to have to focus more on the AP if you want to get the most out of this ship. In this game, I am shooting a lot of HE, but that's because everybody's bow on to me. I tried to go to the flank, as you do in a ship that focuses on armor piercing, and they just all decided to come this way anyway. Fortunately, we have good pen. 38mm pen on the HE makes for a really comfortable experience where we don't have to take IFHE on our commander to actually pen 32mm of armor. Most 150mm cruisers at tier 8 are going to need to do that. Something like Cleveland, if you want to pen battleship armor, you got to take IFHE, which cuts your fire chance in half. And while our fire chance and HE DPM aren't insane, they're still very good at our tier, and it's a bit of a sleeper HE spammer because of this IFHE gimmick, or at least quarter pen gimmick, not requiring IFHE to get good pen. So we retained some decent fire chance. Our range at 17.5 kilometers is more than enough at tier 8. At tier 10, it starts to feel a little bit short, considering how passive the meta is at those higher tiers, but it still does all right. We're running Luchens here. Being a German premium ship, we can easily move Luchens over, and he's great on any of these cruisers because that 140 hits to get DPM buffs is very, very easy to proc here. And a ship already with such insane DPM benefits massively from that. So Mainz becomes a very good option if you're looking for that all-out DPM cruiser with not a whole lot else. This ship certainly lacks battle impact in terms of consumables. 6-kilometer hydro here is still very nice, but we don't have any sort of radar. And considering our concealment isn't very good for a light cruiser, it's hard to sneak up to caps and help your destroyers in those engagements as well. This ship wants to help on those engagements, of course. If you're going to be playing this ship, you need to be helping your DDs. You have decent shell velocity. It gets a little floaty at range, though. But inside these 10-kilometer ranges, it's pretty easy to hit destroyers. So you want to get closer, but the armor and maneuverability makes that a little bit difficult. If you're looking to carry games that way, it might be a little bit challenging in the mines. You can make it work. Certainly on maps with good island cover, it's going to be great. But not all maps have that, and certainly these up tiers can prove a little bit challenging. You do get a lot of torpedo power, though. You get 4 sets of these quad launchers, and that means anybody trying to YOLO around islands on you is going to have a very, very bad time. You can easily take out most battleships in the game if they're YOLOing at you. And there's this little section of icebreaker that's 40 millimeters. So if you're bow in directly and they try and do the bow citadel at very close ranges, you can actually bounce shells. That's like the best armor plate, at least external armor plating on the ship. And it's only very useful in those purely YOLO scenarios. So it's a little tricky to make good value out of, but I really appreciate having these torpedoes. Playing a light cruiser is very difficult when you don't have this anti-YOLO around corners to get you deterrent, because otherwise, how do you play it? If you push up to islands in these light cruisers, especially mid-tier light cruisers, suddenly you're very committed to that position, and if your team kind of folds or the enemy team pushes around the corner on you, you're just left helpless. And if you don't push up to some of these islands that are closer range, suddenly you just have no battle impact because your shells are floaty, or you just purely don't have the range to engage the enemy at all. So I really, really do value having these torpedoes. Helped us here. We didn't survive, but we managed to delay those insane tier 10 battleships, as well as even trade out that last Freddy. 6-kilometer hydro, excellent. Again, pushing up to these shared islands, I guess we could call them. They are excellent at providing pressure early on here. I'm going to overestimate my ship's ability to maneuver out of Kitakami torpedoes, by the way. This was very early on in my play session. I was thinking, great, look at me showing off the 6-kilometer hydro gimmick. AP into Kitakami. Not getting the dev strike I was hoping for, but my goodness, the AP absolutely slaps. And surely we can accelerate away from this. Oh no, I have not got the turning radius for this, as well as didn't accelerate in time. So we're going to eat some extra damage here. Wouldn't be a problem if I had a heal, but it was pretty difficult to play the rest of that battle. It is a bit of a brick, okay? This is not the maneuverable light cruiser experience. It has the DPM, but it feels much more like a heavy cruiser. But then you don't even get heavy cruiser armor, like 27 millimeters to auto bounce 380 millimeter guns. You only have that on your deck armor, and so it's not very consistent. So then do you play it as an open water farmer? Well, I tried that a little bit too. And I do find these shells to be a little bit floaty at these longer ranges. Thanks to the pen, it's still going to perform quite well, especially if you get used to the shell velocity. But this is not my preferred playstyle with this ship, purely because of this size and maneuverability of this ship. Battleships will be able to overmatch through you very easily. You're not going to easily be able to dodge a lot of that incoming fire either, or at least it's hard to in this ship. It's not particularly maneuverable, so playing this open water style can lead to some pretty bad experiences, at least for me, okay? Hadn't played mines in a while, but I really did notice the lack of maneuverability. When people aren't shooting at you, it works out pretty well. Unfortunately, not getting the relights on this Tennessee, at least not as quickly as I would have hoped for. That's why I'm not swapping to the armor piercing, by the way. Otherwise, broadside ships, you just always should swap to the AP. It's got more than double the DPM on the AP versus the high explosive. But back to that open water style, feeling a little bit uncomfortable. It's interesting that we have similar maneuverability to Hipper and Hindenburg, things like that. Especially Hindenburg, you can easily perform some open water cruiser gameplay with that ship. It's very good. And there's not a huge difference here. Like, the maneuverability is the same, similar sizes, within reason, okay? It's not exactly identical, but it's similar. I think it's the heel difference as well as the difference in firing angles. 30 millimeters of armor is nice to have, obviously, over 25, but you still face so many 457s that I think we could say both Mainz and Hindenburg get overmatched quite regularly. But this 38 degrees forward, 39 degrees backwards on Mainz versus Hindenburg's 35 degrees all around, it's not much. It's really not much, 3 or 4 degrees, and yet it feels so much worse on something like the Mainz. The other thing being, of course, having a heal. Being able to take a few overmatch salvos here and there for 5 to 10k damage and then heal that back over time helps this playstyle quite a lot. So something like Mainz can't quite play the same. If you've played something like Hindenburg, that might be something to consider here. Not having a heal is a big deal alongside the difference in firing angles, which leads us to needing to play a lot safer early game. What happens though if you do get spawned on these open flanks without island cover? Well, you could just get lucky like I did in this battle where nobody shoots at you. Or you just have to play it much, much safer yet. Or try to reposition, but then we get into a lot of blowouts where if you leave your flank you're on, suddenly we get into these steamroll-y type games. It's not easy, okay? Cruiser play is not easy, but Mainz can make it work. It's just difficult to keep this thing alive, to keep these guns firing and applying a lot of pressure throughout a battle. Because that is the whole strength behind the Mainz, is that you have overwhelming firepower. It's just you're not going to live particularly long if you don't get it in the correct positions, which I personally find very interesting and engaging. I really enjoy ships that have a lot of firepower. I'm a little disappointed when I don't have high DPM ships. Certainly looking at, I believe it was Sommer's ship request recently, things that don't have gun DPM, I feel like I'm reliant on my teammates to deal damage to the things I'm spotting or anything like that. Where if I have a lot of gun DPM, I have control over a lot of the battle in front of me. I'm not always going to win every battle, okay? But it feels like I'm more in control of these engagements. It's down to my own skill and positioning to get the most out of my ship and hopefully win my flanks. When I don't have DPM, I feel like I can't quite do that as much. Certainly, I looked at Ochakov as a ship request recently too. Somewhat recently, that was maybe a month ago. And the lack of DPM, I was a little frustrated by that. I felt like I could get into decent positions, and then I just couldn't apply enough pressure. Mainz does not have that issue, and maybe that's why I enjoy it so much. I am able to position to keep it alive in most situations, and because of that, I don't notice the downside of this ship's concealment and maneuverability and armor quite so much. You see the AP damage spike up as soon as we get onto some broadsides. It's quite a lot higher. It's very noticeable compared to the HE. And maybe that's why in the past I've said or thought that this ship's not a great HE spammer. It still is decent, but it's just such a massive jump up when you go to the armor piercing. Seeing these 500, 300 damage salvos out of the HE, I'm missing here. There's still some shatters in here and there. It doesn't feel quite as impactful compared to like the 5 to 6k salvos you can get out of the best armor piercing salvos. But the HE is quite consistent is the thing. Doesn't care about angles. And maybe more importantly, we should talk about German armor piercing. It doesn't have worse pen angles than standard AP on other nations, but there's something about German AP, at least with cruisers. It's very light, or it shatters a lot. I don't know, but there's something about it where it has horrible off-angle performance is how it feels to me, even though the stats, like that's all hidden on these separate websites like ShipTool. It all says it should be similar. I don't know what it is, but they've messed with something with these that it's very, very good on flat broadsides, but as soon as people remotely start angling, suddenly the damage just drops off a cliff. So it's very nice to have high explosive as a backup. And I do want to mention also that comparison too. The AP DPM is closer to Neptune AP DPM than it is another tier 8 cruiser. And Neptune does not have the HE fallback, but what it does have is those improved pen angles, short fuses, things like that to make it much more consistent. But as soon as it's a little bit off angle, right, we weren't even able to finish off that hipper with that last armor piercing salvo, even though the AP does monster damage when he's flat broadside. It's a bit of a quirk of this ship. It's still very good, but it is a little bit weird to see the AP sometimes give you insane salvos. They're like, what? The ship has a sub 6-second reload with a little AR and Luchins, and it does this much AP damage into broadsides, and then it just falls off a cliff when people angle to you. But like I said, we have that high explosive. And a DD at 8 kilometers, it's super easy to land these shells, assuming you don't just overlead it, not realizing he's slowing down in his smoke. But it's really nice to have this closer range shell velocity. At range, it's going to be a lot harder to hit those destroyers, but for the most part, you're getting mines within 10 kilometers, 12 kilometers of those DD engagements, and it's not too bad to hit DDs at those ranges. Just trying to keep it alive. Maybe I'm trying to repeating myself too much with that, but if you're interested in mines, you need to know it is hard to keep this ship alive. The guns are really, really fun though. So for Black Friday, could be a very interesting pickup for you, especially if you're interested in that tier 10 variant they're thinking about. Could be cool to see what the tier 8 is like. All right, guys, I'm gonna play a live one because I've been enjoying this ship. Okay, so that every day I get to play a really good ship for you guys. So we're gonna play a live one here. We got ourselves actually really nice matchmaker. Tier 9 is really not bad at all these days. Not much for DDs, no carrier, didn't mention it. AA is a bit of a weakness on this one as well. But you notice where I'm trying to position my ship, okay? Look at how many islands there are here to just block vision of me getting shot at. The more you can do this in mines, especially in the early game. I talk about this a lot when it comes to cruisers, but the more you can save your HP to that mid and late game, the better you're going to perform. Not every batch is like that, but if you can apply some pressure like this, you can do some damage and retain your HP, you're going to do great into the mid and late game. It's the weakness of this ship. It's the weakness of a lot of cruisers. And if we can get some decent ship damage in here, it's going to massively help us and our team towards the late game. If you're a cruiser on low HP, you're a very easy ship to take out in the mid game and late game where, you know, 48k HP is a lot, actually, for a tier 8 cruiser. Yeah, we don't have the heals, certainly, but it's a lot of starting HP. So the more of that you can keep, the better you're going to do. And really just playing around these islands. Not every map has this, of course, but it's so much more comfortable to do this than the open water thing with mines. I feel better about it when I have a heal, of course. Heals are very, very useful. But since the ship doesn't have it, it's probably correct that the ship doesn't have it, by the way, given the DPM. Maybe one. I generally think one heal that, I don't know if you can buff that with super. Yeah, maybe even if you buff it with Superintendent. 2 heals wouldn't be too insane for tier 8 cruisers. Maybe with Mainz DPM, that's getting up there, but the ship still takes just so much damage normally that I don't think that would be much of a deal. And that significantly reduces some of the frustrations found with overmatch, especially the long-range overmatch, right? Where you take that 10, 15k salvo, when you feel like, wow, I was angled and I avoided most of that, but then the 1 or 2 random shells went through you. It would be nice. I won't lie. It would be very nice to have. And we could play more aggressively early on, too. We wouldn't have to play quite so passive, which is fun. I find it more fun to play more aggressive as well. And honestly, you notice a lot of the new premiums and lines, they tend to have heals around tier 8 these days on the cruisers. I don't know. Something about that. And the shell velocity, it's, well, like I said, it's very good at close ranges, but look at how we're able to arc over so many of these islands at longer ranges, which can be an advantage, but it does mean it can be hard to actually lead these shells sometimes. Here I am just failing to hit. Oh no, they just take forever to get there. Okay, we're fine. Muggy might go broadside here? I don't know. But I want to take advantage of that if I can. Or we could maybe see some of the slight angled performance. I'm not leading enough. Yeah, not leading enough. But yeah, here's a great example. 49 degrees of broadside. This is excellent. And we get a lot of shatter still. Maybe got to aim a little higher. There you go, 5k. That's a good salvo. Some risks here. Let's see. His guns are not really paying attention to us, so this is where risking seems to make more sense. 5k into the Charnoirs. Yes, the AP is what we want. Oh, and then we do 0. It's so weird, man. Sometimes you get so much, and then other times it's like, nope. Yeah, there's a 5k again. When you're getting those, it's like, wow. Like, close to 5-second reload. Yeah, there we go. There's our Lucians. I was going to say, where is he? With Lucians. And then you get these insane salvos, and it just drops off so quickly as soon as they angle to you. Which is fine. It's fine. Oh, there we go, actually. 4,500 superstructure. Maybe it's just skill issue. Maybe it's just skill issue. And looks like I'm actually grounding here. I think it's just faster. Wow, 23. Maybe I just should spam AP. Oh my goodness. We're learning things live. Maybe the AP is just way better than I thought. The HE is still solid, but I'm an AP enjoyer. You guys know it. I don't find the HE nearly as satisfying to spam out. I like these big broadside salvos. And we give a lot of broadside, but I will say our turtleback isn't overmatchable, which is really nice. Some turtlebacks like 30 millimeters of armor, so it like gets overmatched, so it's not that useful. But on mines, I believe it's 40. We'll take a look at the armor after this battle. But yeah, I'm actually getting decent hits into his superstructure still. Wow. Okay, I might just be... Yeah, I might just been wrong. It's not like great damage, and we don't have the opportunity to get fires either. But it's better than I would have thought, actually. Okay. 83k, good start. And notice, we have all our HP. This is kind of ideal start, okay? We got fortunate to get a map that gave us like a perfect little cove here. And not to deal with DDs that are going to be spotting us, or carriers in particular spotting us over those islands. But it's a good example, right? And now that it's getting to the later game, we can start to trade some of this HP to apply some pressure to the half-health battleships or lower-health cruisers or something like that, where we don't want to do that as much early on. Almost in range of this NC. It's more than sufficient range. More than sufficient range for Tier 8, even Tier 9 games. But it's those Tier 10 ones, as mentioned, that... Yeah, it's a big ship. It's not very maneuverable into those tier 10 games. And as soon as you try to get a little closer, you single yourself out, right? Like that's the real problem with the range or the up tiers being so passive, right? Is if everyone else is playing at 20 kilometers and you need to play at 17 kilometers, suddenly you're 3 kilometers closer and everyone on the enemy team is, oh, that's an easier target to hit. And then they'll just go after you, right? That's kind of the issue. This might be a misplay to go this way. We'll see. But I don't want to push their spawn, right? But I'm worried about... There's a lot of these battleships here. Okay. Johan, hello. Maybe they all go after Donskoy. He's the high price. Yeah, everybody go after Donskoy. Okay, we get the fire early. Good. And then EP. 3,100 HE. That's pretty good. Oh, he's so broadside, though. We're not going to get citadels, but look at the DPM. It's just a monster. It's just a monster. Assuming you can live, bro. It is so good. Oh my goodness, this ship is so fun. I really like this thing. 5,800! I mean, it's like tier 10 DPM. Like high tier 9 DPM at tier 8, bro. It's so fun. I am very much someone who needs DPM on their ship to feel like I'm having a good time and able to have a lot of battle impact, all right? And this ship fits that role very well. HE less so. I've said the HE is decent and you can farm with it. It feels a little anemic, okay? But I wonder... it's gotta just be... The AP hits so unbelievably hard that in comparison, the HE being very good still doesn't quite have the same feel to it. And, you know, this isn't the highest damage game either. Only a little over 100k. It's fine. It's tier 8. It's fine still, but reasonably consistent, I would say. Yeah, 1,700. We want the AP chunking. Okay, that guy's dead. Carciolo. Ah, yes. And then you fight lower tier battleships, and actually your AP has worse performance. So lower tier battleships have this, like, a lot of armor on their upper belt. They tend to have small superstructures too. So they're actually harder to deal damage to than the battleships at high tier, where they have giant superstructures and their upper belts are like 32 or 38, maybe 50. And the lower tier ones actually shatter a lot more of your damage, which is kind of odd. But at these longer ranges, see, we have like 81 millimeters of EP pen. So we need to be hitting the lighter armored plating. And that's what a lot of high tier battleships have on their upper belts. Or their superstructures are large enough that we're not just overpenning like we are here. Still decent. Still decent. But the DPM, like, we haven't had much AR even. And we're already at a 5.5 second reload. That's like base Des Moines reload rate. It's 203. Okay, it's very different guns, okay? But it's good, man. I like it a lot. But still hard to play, okay? I maybe I'm overselling this thing as insane. It's still very hard to play, and you get the wrong map, the wrong matchmaker, tier 10. It is still very hard to play, but I enjoy it, man. Games like this, not insane damage, not insane results, but still extremely, extremely fun to just have this kind of firepower on a ship. But that armor, yes, that armor, 25. Everything overmatches you, man. 27 deck armor is decent, but still, you get overmatched by a lot of things these days. But look at the 40, right? At closer range, you know, very close range, bow in. If a battleship tries to go for this citadel, which is a little above water, they won't be able to get through. Or maybe it is waterline. Maybe a little above water. And the turtleback is reasonably sloped, I would say. It's not enough to save you if you're broadside. But maybe at closer ranges it can help. But at that 38, 39 degree angle you have to give, that also adds a bit of angle to it. So you'll be surprised at how many salvos you sometimes just happen to survive with only taking overpens. It's weird. It's a weird armor profile, okay? You don't want to be eating that damage, but sometimes you can get lucky. Yeah, 40 mil slope here means it's actually useful. 30 mil on the deck of the Citadel, though, that can get overmatched. It's still light cruiser armor, and it's the size of a heavy cruiser. It's got the concealment of a heavy cruiser, so you gotta be careful. But the guns, the firepower here. Look at the AP DPM. This is tier 8. You can face tier 6s with this, bro. Not usually. In fact, I almost never face tier 6s anymore in my tier 8s, but considering you're fighting tier 10s a lot, it's good to have tier 10 levels or close to tier 10 levels of DPM. As for the build that I was running, here it is. Very Mainz focused build because we're not taking super. If I was swapping my Hindenburg commander back and forth, let's say, you obviously will be wanting something like superintendent because you get heals. Although that ship gets a lot of heals base anyway. I've been enjoying running outnumbered. I didn't proc it terribly often, but it's very noticeable when you do. A little extra DPM from top grade as well as concealment here. Running full lighthouse, I'm not brave enough for it. No heal, as mentioned, for all the reasons I've already mentioned. I'm not quite brave enough on Mainz to be running the lighthouse build, although you can give it a go if you're interested. And the upgrades looked a little something like this. Now, this ship coming back for Black Friday. Again, I don't have any confirmation as to what these prices for sure will be, but going off past years being a 30% discount with the updated, you know, more normalized prices that they added this year. It's 11,300 in the armory right now for regular mines. 30% off that makes it 7,910 doubloons, which, considering the amount of doubloons they've been given away just by playing, it's pretty interesting for a free-to-play player or a light paid player to get a decent haul this Black Friday. Really, really cool. And if you're looking for a high DPM light cruiser, Mainz should be on your short list, in my opinion. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.